All right. Hello, everybody. Now, fellas, keep in mind the camera is the one behind there. Okay. Welcome to Three Societies Distillery here in Namyangju, South Korea. About 20 or 30 kilometers to the northwest of Seoul. And I'm here with the distillery founder, Mr. Brian Do. And I think they're both founders. And over here we have the master distiller, Mr. Andrew Shan. That's correct, right? Yep. Wonderful. And maybe we can scooch together a little more closely. And if you have to get up to manage something, just get up and do what you need to do. So you can see we've got the single pot, the pot stills right behind us here. We have the wash still over on this side. About 5,000 liters is the capacity of that pot still. And the spirit still over here, which is about 3,500 liters. This is a very, very big, I'll call it a big, small distillery, a big craft distillery. They've already, in 1 year, they've already nearly reached 1,000 barrels, which tells you a lot about the capacity. Never mind what they're making for gin and so on. So over here to my right is Mr. Brian Do. Brian, could you say hello to everybody? Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand that up. That'll be better. Can you say hi to everybody that's watching?
Hi. My name's Brian Do. I am Korean American, and I'm one of the founders for Three Societies. Both Andrew and I started this we started this endeavor more than 3 years ago, but we started making whiskey about a little bit over a year ago now. And that's about it. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
한국에서 보는 관객들이 있으면 저는 도정한입니다. 제가 한 1년 전부터 우리가 위스키, Three Societies에서 위스키 생산 시작했고, 이제는 곧 우리 1년째를 출시할 건데요. 매우 리미티드 에디션으로 출시할 거예요.
In about a year.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. 2 years.
No, we'll be launching, for the English speakers, we'll be launching a very, very limited edition 1 year.
That's right, because that follows the Korean law.
Yes,
so that's fantastic.
Korean law requires it to be 1 year in oak, but it will be very limited, and it's only to show our expression of what the whiskey, how the whiskey is maturing.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I will be very happy if I can get my hands on such a bottle. That would be fantastic. And to my left, again, is Mr. Andrew Shan, who joined us on the tour. So please say hello to everybody watching. And there's the camera back over there.
Okay, I'm Andrew Shan. I'm a Scottish guy, so you might want to turn on your subtitles so you understand what I'm saying. If I talk in Korean, no one understands. When I talk in English, no one understands. So I've been over in Korea for 4 years now working with Brian, and we've put together the Three Societies Distillery, and we look forward to you enjoying it today.
I'm really, really excited, and I've had a bit of a few sips along the way of everything, and really, really impressive stuff that's going on here. Now, I'll try not to move that mic too much because it ends up affecting the sound quality, but first of all, I'm just so thrilled and humbly thanking gracious of you fellas for allowing me to come up here on a Monday, on the start of a work week when you guys should probably be taking care of stuff. And here you are fooling around with me and everybody that's watching. So thanks a lot to everybody watching, but most of all, thank you for letting me come on up here. And also to Mr. Kim Yubin, who's in the background over there. Thanks a lot for making this happen, and to my special cameraman and longtime friend, Mr. Sehun, who's back over there. So thanks a lot.
Now he's only here so that he can drive you home.
That's basically
that's basically why he's here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be fit for driving. I think by the time we're done.
So it's always good.
Yeah. Now I have a little surprise for these two gentlemen, and that is a little bit, as you know, as my viewers know, I really love Canada's Yukon Spirits, Two Brewers Whiskey. So I have a little bit of some Yukon spirits. Pardon me. Two brewers, single malt whiskey here, both peated. Do you like peated whiskey?
Yeah, I enjoy it once in a while.
And I hear you're going to be starting doing some peat.
Yes, we will.
That's super, super exciting. Obviously, the peated malt will be coming from Port Ellen or
No, it's going to be come from Scotland.
wow.
It will be Port Gordon malt.
Yep.
From Crisp.
Okay. Yeah.
So they've got they do a peated malt. So we take the most heavily toasted peated malt that they've got, and then we'll work it back and make various expressions of.
So it's going to be it won't be a pale malt. It'll be a darker.
It'll be a
golden
promise type.
Yep.
But very heavily peated, over 50 parts per million peat.
50 ppm of phenol. That's
yeah.
really impressive. Excellent. And we have a few people watching along. Mr. Graham Young, who is a patron of mine that has graciously supported the channel for quite a number of years. And he's also given me a nice little super chat, which I am super thankful for. Again, I won't be typing anything because it's really too hard to try to manage that as well as keep up with the conversation. So I'll read what I can, and then we'll talk about that. We have a fellow named James Morgan who has joined on, and he mentions that you sound a little bit Dutch.
Dutch? No, I am very far from Dutch. I am as American as it gets. Born in Columbus, Ohio. Grew up all up and down the coast of California. Been in Korea for 25 years. But my most recent venture before this was a craft brewery called the Hand and Malt Brewing Company.
Yes, I've heard of that.
So we were one of the first pioneers of craft malt, of craft beer in Korea.
I've had it actually.
Probably.
Yes.
Since 2013. So yes, I am not Dutch. I wouldn't mind being Dutch, but
maybe a lot taller.
Maybe a lot of your friends though. Ohio actually has a lot of Northern Europeans. So perhaps you might have gone to school with a lot of like Dutch descendants. That's a possibility.
Maybe. The only Dutch thing I've ever done in my life was I used to row in university, and that's
cool.
Very Dutch, I've heard.
Excellent. Flying Dutchman. There we go. All right, so that's wonderful. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the founding of Three Societies and how you overcame all the necessary hurdles that needed to get you to the point where you're here and able to distill. So can I let you have a little soliloquy about that?
Yeah, pretty much Andrew and I met through an acquaintance online, and I asked Andrew, this was a pet project of mine many years ago, and I asked Andrew if he would be interested in coming to Korea and making some history with me. And what happened was, I think after Andrew came first and he said, yeah, I think I could make this happen. From there, we on earnest tried to find a spot for where we're going to, not just a spot, but other investors and things like that. So we did that. And then unfortunately, things didn't go well with our first investor. So we literally lost almost a year and a half because of that. We immediately found another investor and found a new site, was looking for different sites, and this spot came up. We both liked it. It's the very top of a hill almost. And you'll have to excuse us. We're actually distilling, so Andrew's going to have to pop back and forth.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of, I guess the spirit still distillate is coming out.
Yeah.
So he's taking care of that.
And it's hot in the summer here, but
it's warm. Not to mention the distillery itself is warm. But back to that, I think he would have also had, never mind the investment side of things, but the legal side must have been quite difficult to overcome.
Yes, because just on every aspect, the government doesn't know what the production of whiskey is, period. Most recently, we had the Korea version of the FDA come, and they scolded us because our filling station floors were quite dirty, and it's literally impossible to keep the filling station floors clean because you're rolling in casks on a daily basis that have rust, that have wood, and they just don't understand that. So things like that are things that we're going to have to teach the government. It's basically the same thing as I did for craft brewing. So I'm not, I'm kind of used to the song and dance that we'll have to do. But it's going to be a much more difficult song and dance because we'll have to do it pretty much ourselves. Before there was an association that helped us, but now we are us and another very, very small distillery in Seoul are basically the only two distilleries making whiskey in Korea.
Which is pretty amazing. Never mind that you're in a country where they've got their own distilling laws, their own history with distilling and brewing. And though Korean beer has been around for probably since World War II-ish, it seems to have always been basically just to the benefit of some of the very large conglomerates in Korea that got to do that, because the brewing requirements of liters per year was just so high. That did change. So now you do have a lot of smaller breweries happening, but all the same hurdles exist for distilling as well, I'd imagine. And then there's also a different tax bracket for, let's call it, international liquors and beers compared to, we'll call that traditional Korean liquors and beer. So it really makes it unappealing for someone to start a whiskey distillery, because you're coming at it, not only does it cost so much to start, but you're going to have to put the prices so high that it becomes almost not profitable. But I think that the interest, we reached a point in sort of like the whiskey world, where even in Korea, there's whiskey mania everywhere. There are young and old, men and women, all enjoying whiskey. So it's really the perfect time, I think, for what you're doing. So that's really awesome. And so you've been here about 4 years now.
4 years, yeah. And I'm kind of amazed that there hasn't been a distilling industry in Korea, because, you've got beautiful water, climate is superb for maturating.
Great climate.
Whiskey. It's very warm in the summer, very cold in the winter. It's just perfect for maturing whiskey. And it's just the obstacles that are put in front of you by laws. And a lot of the problem is when you're new, governments and local authorities, they don't understand your product. We're not beer, we're not makgeolli, we're not soju.
Yeah. But
you have to be one of them, and we're not. So it makes it's very difficult for them, and it's very difficult for us to educate them. So it's going to be a slow process, and I think Korea will have a whiskey industry in 10 or 15 years that will rival Japan and go well beyond that. It's just ripe for people coming in and making really good whiskey, because the conditions are perfect.
Amazing. Now, truth be told, I actually bought my first alembic still here in South Korea, and I had all these plans. This was before all my kids, before my second and last children were born. I was planning on experimenting with malting,
right? And
I even bought some Korean peat, and I had all these designs of just doing a little bit of fun at home with this. But with my kids, my second child and then my third, it just became impossible to find the time to meddle around with that. But really interesting to focus on everything that's Korea to really build on the terroir aspect. Now, one more question I want to ask you about the technicalities of getting this started. You must have had even up till now, a very sizable legal bill to handle with getting through all of the applications and changing of laws and so on and so forth.
Actually, not really. We haven't changed any laws yet. We're looking to do that, and mostly it's in the side for some things like we have to educate the government about actual angel share. Their angel share right now is just ridiculous. That's something maybe Andrew can touch on later, but angel share, taxes, how we can distribute our products are very archaic. It's from the 80s. So those have to be not changed, but I think they can be updated. But I'm confident that this will happen once the industry becomes a little bit bigger. We're just in the unfortunate point of being the first ones,
Right.
But our legal bill wasn't that big. It's I had the experience when I started my craft brewery. When I started the craft brewery, it was almost worse than it is now for whiskey. And a bunch of things had to change because ingredients back then, in 2013, the only things you could use were literally just 4 different ingredients, and you couldn't even put in oats or wheat into it. You could just only use malt, water, hops, and yeast. Now you can add everything from coffee to orange, everything under the sun now. But that took several years to change, and I'm sure that will change later for the whiskey industry too.
Yeah, great. Which will be great. Now, though I did taste a little bit of your distillate during the tour that just happened, make sure you check that out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and help me out by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, building some bit of extra following for Three Societies Distillery. They would love that. They've got a Facebook channel. They have an Instagram channel. So Three Societies Distillery is what you want to search for. And the website is Three Societies Distillery, threesocieties.co.kr. So check out the distillery for upcoming news and so on and so forth. And should we taste something together? Can we do that?
So when we did our tour of the distillery earlier, the spirit still was just going on the spirit. So you got to taste it just as it started to go on, and this is it 10 minutes before it came off.
Oh wow!
So
okay.
you can see see how it will change during the.
It's really much richer. Yeah. What I thought was quite fruity and malty and grainy. You know, by grain I mean like the barley grain. Now we're getting something much richer. A little bit of like a light buttery toffee. And something like in Korea, you have the brown rice. What's brown rice called again? Hey, Sehun, what's brown rice called again? Brown rice. Hammi. So hammi mat candy. You can get some candy like hammi mat candy or hook sultan, black sugar candy.
Sugar candy, yeah.
So this is like the diet version. So you're not going to put on any weight when you go this way.
Perfect. Let's try that. Cheers. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Hanbei.
Yes.
Done.
What's the ABV on that?
It's still about 70%.
About 70. It's going to be
70 and a half, yeah.
Even though it's 70%, it's sippable, it's enjoyable, it's got a nice sweet body. Still very herbal. And if you saw me in the last video tasting some of the almost 1 year old whiskey from a new make, a virgin oak barrel, it still had a lot of herbal essence. So it's quite a herbal, sweet and candy-like malt.
It's a bit of a crossover if you were comparing it with a different style of Scotch whiskies. It's a kind of crossover between a Highland whiskey and a Speyside whiskey.
That's a really good description.
It's kind of got the best of both worlds.
Wonderful. That's really excellent. And so this went through about 100 hours of fermentation, which I think for this climate, then you could say it's quite long, actually.
It's quite long for here. It's just, Saturdays and Sundays I want to go cycling, so that's the main reason for the fermentation time. Yeah. That's a technical term.
Yeah.
Say that again?
At weekends I want to go away cycling. So see what I mean? Like people ask me, why don't you speak Korean? And people don't even understand my English. So yeah,
I understand you perfectly. And if you do want some help in the future, even if I'm in Canada, I would be very happy and very thrilled to help you learn some Korean from an English speaker's point of view.
My wife tries very hard.
제가 도와드리면 돼요. Can I help you?
Not today.
That's great. Not today, but in the future. In the future. What's your favorite Korean food, by the way?
Oh gosh, do you know this is quite funny? It's just like people always laugh, but I love Korean food and I love all the different things. But kimchi and pork soup is my favorite.
Oh yeah. So your kimchi jjigae, kimchi jjigae with pork.
Yeah.
That's also one of my favorites too. Yeah. And as a Korean American, what's the thing that you really enjoyed most of all coming back to Korea that you were thinking, oh yeah, I need to eat this more often? Or does mom make everything?
Yeah, mom makes everything back there. The only thing that I can probably get that's more authentic that mom couldn't make is kind of some of the colder noodles.
Oh, okay.
Like naengmyeon or those take a long time for the broth to make. So those you can get a little bit more authentic in Korea. But I enjoy, probably doenjang jjigae is probably one of the things that I enjoy more in Korea.
And I can see that my wife has joined in watching. Hi, honey. We're talking about Korean food, and you can hear Mr. Brian Do saying he loves doenjang jjigae, and that's also one of my favorites too. Sounds like maybe we should go for
dinner,
maybe like Korean barbecue, and then have some doenjang jjigae.
Yeah,
that'd be great. So this is fantastic. So now let's get on to some of the whiskey. So this is the same one that I tried in the warehouse, I believe, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's about 8 months old?
10 months old, yeah.
10 months old in virgin oak. And that's right from the cask. You can see that in the previous tour video. And it's exactly at the pinpoint of where sweet buttercream, toffee, and this type of rich candy meets with this really unique herbal spiciness, which I think this will be probably one of your signature whiskeys in the future, is this virgin oak.
So the reason you're going to be tasting all of that is a lot of it is by design. Andrew and I sat around for a long time thinking, okay, what are we going to make our whiskey? This is actually, it's not something that we just take lightly and make, because it has very much a lot of historical value in what we're making. We're going to be the first. There's a lot of people abroad that are going to want to taste what Korean whiskey tastes like. So we kind of bounced around and said, what does Korea taste like? And one of the first things that we agreed upon was spice. That's, in our food, spiciness is just an inherent in almost all of our food that we eat. So we wanted to make sure that the spice comes out.
And it really does come out. And one of the really cool things here, Andrew, is I'm tasting espresso affogato in the finish. A little bit of espresso on ice cream,
Right.
so vanilla ice cream and espresso in the finish, which is a beautiful thing to be able to pinpoint these unique flavors at any point in your tasting, right?
So,
And yeah,
so one of the things we do is when we buy our casks, we get them to slightly over toast them, so they're a little bit. We have various different expressions that we've tried with the toasting, but normally people would go for a number 2 char or a number 3. So we're just like a 3 and a bit, and the little bit extra. That's where you're getting your coffee.
beautiful. It's really
coming
beautiful.
up from.
It's really fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you.
You should be really, really proud of yourself, and I think you probably are. And I think all of your friends back home are going to be super jealous
I
in
think
a few years if they aren't already.
I think the thing that'll make them super jealous is the maturation time for whiskey here. You know, in Scotland, you're looking 10, 12 years.
Yeah. Like
And
8 years minimum.
yeah, and a Korean year maturation is probably equivalent of 4 years in Scotland
Wow.
because of the extremes in temperature. You know, we're so cold in the winter, so warm in the summer. So
It's kind of like a Kentucky summer
very Kentucky summer
and
and
then
a
maybe like a New York winter.
yeah.
Exactly, New York winter. And that's going to make our casks just heave in and out.
Pumping the whiskey in and out of the staves, which extracts more and more of your tannins and everything else that's wonderful coming from the cask. It's imparting into the whiskey itself. So
And there was a lot of thought went into the site because, you know, we're quite high up the hill. If you come down into the valley in the winter and then come up here, there's about a 3 or 4 degree temperature difference just from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill. And in the winter time, we don't see the sun here. The sun just doesn't come up. And the idea was to let it get really, really cold. And then in the summertime, the sun comes up beyond the hill and it gets too hot, you know. Well, too hot for this Scottish guy, you know. So anyway, but perfect for the whiskey. So we get such a wide range. You know, the whiskey's going so far into the wood and then getting really squeezed back out again. So it's, as I say, the climate here is just so good for maturing whiskey. It's absolutely amazing.
I noticed quite a lot of people in the distilling world in Scotland are into cycling. For example, the former master distiller at Glenmoray, his name was Graham.
Cool.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and he's now in Ireland. So I don't know if you've ever met up on a bike ride or something.
We've done a couple of cycle rides together, funnily enough.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That's another person. Hopefully next time I'll bring my pedals and shoes, and I'll come and ride with you. It doesn't look it, but way back when I was 7th place in Canada for road cycling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well done.
So, but again, you don't really notice it now. But
You're very
That's
lucky.
children later.
exactly.
You're very lucky that that COVID is a factor at the moment, because I was due to be doing the Trans-American bike race, racing 6,800 kilometers.
Who, you?
From Astoria in Oregon over to Yorktown in
Have you done
Virginia.
that?
I was due to do it this summer.
Oh, so maybe next year then.
Next year, yeah.
Oh man, that's really intense. That's a lot of riding.
It's a proper race.
And I've got a buddy who maybe is following here, David. If you're watching, I got him into cycling, and it's turned around his life for the good.
Yeah.
And now he's riding like 120K a day,
Yeah.
30 kilometers above 30 kilometers an hour average. I'm like, man, you can ride with anybody at that speed.
Yeah.
So I'll bring him along one time,
Perfect.
and we'll catch up with you. Now, I did bring a couple of things that I want to try with you. And as I spill, oh my goodness, my bad.
That's fine.
I just ruined Brian's shorts,
That's okay.
and everybody's gonna think that you were
Jade
hard at
looking
work
clean.
today.
I smell like whiskey. That's fine.
My bad. I'm a bit of a klutz.
I would have rather drank that, but that's okay.
Yes.
that will evaporate very soon. So
It
that
will, it
is
will.
the beauty of spilling whiskey.
Well, on your hands, it
Yeah.
really does smell good, and that would be a really good cologne as well. Just dab a little bit of that behind my ears. Sehun, could you get the box of glasses that's in my bag? All right. So, if it's okay with you, gentlemen, I'm going to gift you a glass,
Oh wow!
and that's one of my new Whiskey Whistle glasses. Now, for my patrons, you won't be getting these ones until next year. I have some more subtle logoed glasses that you will get this summer, but you're going to be the first person other than me to have one of those.
Wow,
So that's
thank
for you. And
They're cool.
Yubin, right?
Yeah.
Yubin, that's for you.
Thank you.
I have a glass for you. And Sehun, do you guys want to come here and try this Canadian single malt with me? Okay. Oh yeah, I need one for myself. Okay. All right, so get that. Thank you so much. Actually, maybe we'll put that on the ground. Great. Okay, so I don't have too much, but it should be enough for the five of us. And do you like higher strength or lower strength?
At this time of hour, I'll take the lower strength.
The lower. Okay. So you're going to get Two Brewers Release 25, which I've just recorded here while I was in quarantine. So that review will come out fairly soon. And I gave this a 92 out of 100 score. So I'd love to hear what you think of this. This is fully peated. They get their peated malt from Scotland as well. And a lot of bourbon barrels and virgin oak barrels that they use. So I'll get you some of that. Okay. And Sehun, you want to try some of this? You should come in the camera, okay? And Yubin? Sure. Okay, you get the rest of that one. Okay. And then for you, you'll get the cask strength single cask. This is the Alberta Scotch Society 10th anniversary bottling. It's a little bit strong.
43.
Thank you. A little bit of a taste. 근데 한국말로 많이 배우셨네요. You learned a lot of Korean already. Cheers.
Cheers.
Sehun. All right. So, probably the first Two Brewers whiskey to be enjoyed by Koreans and also by a Scotsman here in Korea. Hopefully, you gentlemen enjoy it. Now, they're a much smaller distillery than you. I want to say they do about a barrel every other day. Probably they'll change. Maybe they'll double in size at some point, but they come from the brewing side of things. So they started as a brewery, as you did, and then took their brewing craft to whiskey. So every release they change the mash. They use different types of malt, crystal malt or chocolate malt or whatever. And then fermentation times change. And then, of course, the wood they change as well. So what do you think of Two Brewers?
I can see why you gave it a 92.
Mm-hmm.
It's the nose comes on as probably a medium peat.
Yeah.
Maybe like a little less than a Bruglatic, somewhere in that range probably. Mm-hmm. It's got some nice aromas too, but then when you drink it and you keep it around, there's also a lot of spice in it too. But it drinks really smooth, so it's just easy to have. This would be a peat whiskey that I can enjoy like just throughout the day. I mean, the really heavy peated ones, I'd only enjoy probably as a nightcap.
Right. Yeah. In the
but
winter, maybe.
in the winter, after some hot chocolate. But no, but this is it's really enjoyable.
And Yubin, what do you think?
It smells like a. I mean, in my style, it's like a campfire, Peated, or something else, but its taste a little bit weird, but it's really sweet, vanilla textures came up in the finish.
My wife says that peated whiskey kind of tastes like tono on
Yeah, I don't know, and
yeah
kind of like penicillin.
like medicine.
Yeah.
And Sehun, your thoughts? Come and show everybody your face.
I'm a beginner of the.
Oh, with Pete? Yeah.
So
He really likes whiskey, but Pete is not
Yeah.
your favorite.
it's tastes like spicy,
Spicy.
Yeah.
And smoky.
a little smoky,
Mm-hmm.
but when I drink it, it's mostly going to my. How can I explain it?
In your nose?
Yes.
Really strong on your nose? And what do you think of the single cask?
I really enjoy it. It's very medicinal, which people always think when you say that that's a bad thing. But I think a good peaty whiskey should be very medicinal. It's got it's got like a very iodine kind of note to it, and I always think when you're trying a peaty whiskey, if you get that kind of iodine medicinal kind of taste, they've taken a lot of good things out of the peat, and that it kind of reminds me of it's a bit like an Ardbeg with the oil taken out of it.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
maybe like Port Charlotte, where their tall stills
Yeah,
aren't so suited
it's a little
to.
bit lighter,
yeah.
but it's very well balanced.
Mhm.
It's a really nice whiskey actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. How old is it?
I
About
think it's
3 years.
7 years old.
7 years old. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good.
So they have some releases that are 10 or up to 11 years
Right.
now. But most of their releases are a mix of maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 casks of different ages.
So two brewers have been around for a while then.
Yep. Since I think 2009 was when they started their
Oh, wow.
distilling journey. So
They are pioneers.
Over to Korea for a couple of years. It'll be like a 15-year-old. It'll be good.
yeah,
Yeah. So
I don't
next time
know.
you come over, just take a couple of casks with you, and we'll look after them. for them.
ideally, maybe I'll buy a cask and see if I can get that imported.
They
But hopefully someone doesn't beat me to the punch. There's a lot of savvy investors.
There are.
And they jump on ideas like that. But maybe I can ask for 2 brewers. I'll do my Korean rubbing hands to say, please wait for me to buy a cask of 2 brewers to bring to Korea. Anyway, so really glad you got to try that. Now, I've also noticed that you started using some Korean oak.
Yeah.
And that is also, it's a little bit south of Seoul where that's made, I think.
Yeah, it is. I think the reason why we call ourselves a craft distillery is we're not being, Andrew and I like to not be hung up on all of the traditions and rules that that kind of stifle some other countries in making that. And I think that's one of the reasons that Andrew liked the idea for starting something in Korea also. Of course, we abide by how whiskey is made in the methods, but some ways where we use different woods, we're using different malts. For example, I don't know if we can talk about this because we haven't discussed it yet, but we've just recently shared or collaborated with a Korean type of sherry.
Oh, wow.
So it will be a really interesting whiskey that comes out of that. So it'd be Korea's sherry cask.
Amazing.
So
I
these
hear there's also Bokbunda
Yeah.
casks as well.
Well, that's what I'm
Oh, that-
talking about.
okay.
The bokmunja.
Yeah, Bokmunja is like a blackberry sort of thing,
Yeah.
and
Very red.
really
Dark red.
deep red wine that they make from that. Typically, what's available on the shelves of stores is kind of like a consumer product where it's a little bit mixed, but if you can find some real craft
It's really nice.
wineries, then that would be really awesome.
Yeah, and we're working with one of Korea's premier soju distilleries too, and sharing casks with them to see what flavors we can get from Korea traditional.
Is it Ohio?
No, it's
No,
not.
okay.
It's not. It's a very craft. No,
No?
it's very craft.
Yeah.
No,
No.
You won't guess it.
Okay. I'll stop guessing.
They sell out. Like when they put their goods up for sale on internet, it sells out within like minutes. They're really good. But besides that, I mean, just the craft aspect that we like, that we're able to do. I mean, I think Andrew can elaborate more on that.
It's nice here because you can try different things. We've been using chocolate malt, we've been using pale ale malt, we've used lager malt, we've used traditional, Scottish malts. We fill into different wood. We're experimenting with Korean wood, which is a bit of a leap in the dark because no one's ever put whiskey into Korean oak. We've got a white oak and a red oak cask, and we'll see how it matures in that. And it may turn out to be brilliant. It may not turn out to be brilliant. We'll find out. That the problem in this industry is everything takes a little while. So if it does turn out to be very good, then we can start using it more. But then you're a year or 2 years behind the ball game a little bit. And we tried some Korean barley, which was there was a maltster in Korea, but they were the quality of their malting process was very poor. So
for distilling, yeah.
For distilling and brewing, it was just very poorly made malt.
Right.
So
So
we-
you mentioned something about
So
your
we're
own barley.
Yeah, we're going to start our own maltings. We'll make our own malt, growing our own barley. We'll malt it ourselves here.
So you'd be truly grain to glass. And that's really exciting.
Yeah, not for a bit, but we
Actually, no, I should say field to glass.
glass. Yeah.
Field to glass,
farm to glass,
which is the ultimate in terroir. I think there's no further step that's needed for that. Hopefully, someday you'll have your own little shop here as well to sell your whiskeys on location as well.
Yeah, we will. We're focusing more on getting the maturation aspects, and then when we do start to sell in earnest, several years down the line, then we'll have a proper visiting store and a sales store on premise.
Great, fantastic.
We'll be able to come see the distillery, have a look around, just do, which will be a great experience for them because I don't think too many Koreans have seen a setup like this before.
Never.
You
And
know,
I think you can probably run maybe like a 1 hour like midweek tour, like just for the work days, and then you can maybe run a 90-minute or a 2-hour tour on weekends and delight people with a couple of spirits, a bit of your gin, which I didn't get a chance to try, but I will go and buy some of your Chongwon gin, which looks like Jung-won in English, but it means garden apparently, which is fantastic. Now I'm just finishing the last little bit of my Three Societies, let's call it pseudo whiskey. It'll be whiskey in a couple of
2
months
months' time.
legally, which and is that the very cask that you'll be disgorging to put to market?
No, that's just their tasting casks.
Okay.
We've got some casks that are a little bit further on.
Mm.
So they'll be. So what we'll do a progression series. So it'll be introducing 3 societies because if you see from our logo, we've got the Korean tiger, the Scottish eagle, and the Scottish Unicorn. The American Eagle, sorry, and that's the one.
That's the one there. So that's their new logo. You can see that in the thumbnail for this video.
So you've got your, as I say, you've got your American Eagle, your Korean Tiger, and your Scottish Unicorn. So we'll introduce the three elements that bring our whiskey together. We have the Korean people, the Korean country for making the whiskey, and the Americanism of Brian, and my Scottishness, just to confuse everyone. And then we'll, as I say, it'll be a progression. So we'll take the whiskey at 1 year old, and we'll do a limited edition of that. And then maybe after 18 months, we'll release some more just to see how it's maturing, and they can kind of follow the journey with us. And then after 2 years, they'll be able to see it after 2 years, and then we'll go into the launch of our main product after that. So it's a kind of as you go, kind of baby steps, and like people see it.
It's an incredible production, of course, and kudos to both of you for getting this started. Now, I have a little bit of a silly question, but with this distillery and what you're doing here, I don't know if you guys watched the old series on AMC called Breaking Bad.
Yeah, of course.
So is it kind of like we have Mr. White over here and Jesse over here, and that his production is a little bit better than yours, but you're trying to learn. Are you able to manage the distillery yourself?
No, I am definitely not Jesse Pinkman at all. I am more of maybe I'm more Saul, or no, not Saul. Maybe I'm more of I don't know who the mafia figure is in the back, but
Gustavo.
Yeah, I'm the
Gustavo
Gus.
Fring.
Yeah, Gus Fring. But I'm more of the enabler. I want to be able to bring this beauty to the Korean people, and also show off our beauty to the world, and what Korean whiskey can do. And because we're experimenting so much, there's a lot of different things that we think will be exciting in the future. And we're really excited to show, not to be braggadocious, but to show off what we've been doing so far to the world and to the locals here. So
Someone here says Heisenberg is in the middle. That's me? Okay, sure. Funny. Now, from the first sip to the last sip here, what's really amazing is that this does not taste like single malt Scotch whiskey. It doesn't taste like single malt Japanese whiskey or Taiwanese whiskey or single malt Canadian or American or Dutch. It's really got its own identity. It's totally Korean, and it's got exactly the right flavor. Not just Koreans will love, but I think everybody will supremely enjoy. And you mentioned the spicy quality. I get some nice, delicious spicy pepper. Not the really super spicy chanyang gochu pepper, but something more like a really spicy. What do they call that? The second level of spicy ones, just like your typical red. Gochu pepper powder, which is great. A little bit of black pepper, which is fantastic, and then all those candy-like flavors that I said, along with some warm wood originating tones. It's just really beautiful. So, this has been really fantastic. Now, is there anything that I missed that you wanted to mention? So, are you open for tours?
We will be opening for tours probably in the next week or two. We are expecting the level to go down a bit to accept more people, but it doesn't look like we will. But we've gotten okay from the government, from the local government, to start tours. So great. I think we're going to start tours for any Korean listeners on here. You can look out for that on our Instagram or on Naver, and they can look at that. But Yeah.
Fantastic. And I noticed a while ago on Instagram, you had a post about that you were hiring. Now, is this the result of your hiring process?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you're the winner of the hiring process.
No, he's
okay.
he's been here for a while.
Okay.
We're hiring a salesperson.
I see.
We don't have an actual salesperson yet. We really didn't need one. But now I think we should get a salesperson just to get things rolling.
So if you happen to be a Korean and you're watching and you have some experience in sales, then make sure you get in contact with 3societies.co.kr or through their Instagram channel or their Facebook channel. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you to maybe join in this really incredible, I don't want to call it a new venture because you're already more than a year old here, but this exciting, let's say, can I call you a startup? Whiskey startup, craft whiskey startup, farm to glass, soon to be farm to glass a whiskey distillery. So I think that'd be great. And it was really fantastic meeting you today. And I can't thank you enough for the personal tour, which was incredible, and letting me have a little bit of a taste of the spirit from your Spirit Safe, which is fantastic. That's what's running right behind there. And from start to finish, as well as from Yubin was fantastic. Thank you so much for all your work today. And I guess it's time to say thanks and goodbye. So for those of you watching, I really appreciate that you joined along today. If you're watching this after the fact, make sure you leave a comment. Check out Three Societies on Instagram, on Facebook. For this channel, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment if you like what you watched. And, well, I guess it's time to say goodbye. So thank you so much. Can I hug you, gentlemen?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very
That's
much
great.
for
Thank
taking
you.
the time to come and see us and introducing us to your viewers. And
Yep.
good luck for the
I'd
future.
kiss you if you could, but I know that Koreans don't like that too much. And I've only
That's
just met, but
It's not very COVID friendly lately.
all right. So that was
Cheers.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. And we'll talk to you very soon. Over and out. I won't be on again until after I get back to Canada. Goodbye now. Oh.